Now lock in now, laser focus.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Locked In. My name is Megan Holden.
And I'm Sam Rodriguez.
And here we cover the latest and hottest NFL and NBA debates and cover the latest news. To start off the show, we got some NFL rumors for you. NFL rumors include Jadeveon Clowney, top pass rusher, a couple years ago. Is actually drawing interest from the Titans, the Browns, the Giants, the Seahawks, and the Falcons. Also, Kwan Williams has rumored interest in returning to the 49ers. And the Jets. Jets has been active in free agency a little bit. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. And also, we have Broncos are open to bringing back Kareem Jackson. How do you feel about that, Sam?
I want him.
Yeah. And then we have former Bronco cornerback A.J. Bowie is rumored to be has interest from the Raiders, from the 49ers, and Lions. Sam, what do we have for the NBA rumors?
All right, so there's a lot of trade rumors speculating right now. We saw the Nets. Spencer Dinwiddie is now up for grabs. The Nets want a role player and a second-round pick back. Then the Clippers showed interest in Lonzo Ball, but they're not the only team. The Knicks and the Bulls also have interest in him. I think because he's developed as he is this year, a lot of teams have seen him out. And then the Magic want a first-round pick and a couple young talent for Aaron Gordon. This is hard because I don't know if he's worth that much. A couple young players and a first-round pick. I can see maybe one young player in the first round, but I don't see like a couple.
No, and he wants out. He's kind of open to a new team too. That's what's been reported. So I think one player and one pick is good enough because I think eventually they're gonna have to move on. This has been building up. But Spencer Dinwiddie and Lonzo Ball gave a nice grab for some playoff teams. Lonzo Ball also has, I think, interest in the Clippers, so I'll be interested to see them having another ball handler. How far the top does that put them in the West? And Spencer, I think, is a great player. Obviously, he's coming back from injury. We're going to see how that affects him. But I think that could be really critical for a playoff team. I think that would be worth what it is, value of it.
Yeah, they could use some depth role players on that team. So trading him away for a second-round role player, I think that would be a smart move for them.
And the Nets have plenty of talent too, so I doubt they're going to ask for a high price.
Yeah, no. Probably just a center.
Absolutely. So today on this podcast, we're talking about a little bit about rumors, just because we're going to be talking about the NBA trade deadline, what trades has been made so far, and what can we see maybe a little bit going forward. Then we're also going to be talking about NFL free agency. We have a lot to talk about from NFL free agency, the moves that have been made, and what also do we think is going to happen going forward. Who has had the best free agency, who had the worst free agency, and how is it going to impact this upcoming season. But first, I'm trying to get my mic not to fall on my face. Okay.
You're good.
No, it's going to fall. Okay. So first, I got this mic sitting up. We're going to actually be talking about the NBA. So I'm going to share my screen to show you guys what has been the latest moves. Not so much going on so far for the NBA for trades. It's only been about 3 trades given this past week and a half. Let's go NBA tracker. So if you guys look on the screen, this is what we have so far. The biggest move has been the Bucks acquiring PJ Tucker. And they pretty much didn't really get much for him. They got first-round pick swap. They got a 22nd first-round pick for him, but they gave up 2023 first-round pick. I don't think this makes much of a difference for the Bucks because PJ Tucker, people thought of him as a 3-and-D guy, but now he's just really a D guy. He's not really much of a shooter, but he can bring defense. We'll see, if him being in a place where he actually is happy to be at would change his play this season, but I don't think he's going to bring them over the top. What do you think about this move?
I think it was a good move by the Bucks. They needed something like this. I feel like he'll be like that Draymond Green type of guy for them because they really don't have that right now.
I think
he's not going to make something crazy impact to push them over the Nets or the 76ers, I feel. But if he's over there hitting corner threes and playing defense on the top guys, he will give them a fighting shot to get to that conference finals. But I don't see them getting past the Nets still with this move.
But that's the thing, though. He hasn't really been hitting threes. And PJ Tucker, I think Draymond Green is a wretch. I think that could be like the highest ceiling possible. But he would be a nice role player for them, a nice defensive guy, a nice, bench guy that gets everyone riled up on a bench. But this move does not take him over the top. I believe, let me see where they are at the standings right now based off yesterday. So they're actually third in the standings. They won the last 6. They're 9-1. They're starting to get hot. But you still have Philadelphia and Brooklyn Nets ahead of them by a couple games. But I feel like, especially down the stretch, especially in the playoffs, they still need more to compete with those teams. They still need, especially the Nets. That's where stars show up. And I'm not sure if the Bucks, even though given they just got Drew Holiday's offseason, hasn't really been as well as predicted. It's taking some time for them to gel. As we've seen they're starting to get hot. But can they keep this up? Is the biggest question. All right, so the next move, a little bit less thrilling. You had the Bucks again traded Torrey Craig for consideration. Kind of a young player, has not really produced much, but going to his son, maybe he'll get some minutes. It's not really a big move there. And he acquired Trevor Ariza for Thunder, so Myers Leonard, who I'm surprised is still in the NBA, but we won't get into that. In a 2027 second round pick.
They basically traded Ariza for the pick because it said the rumors that they're going to cut Myers. They're going to cut him. They said as soon as he gets over there, it's basically for the second round pick. Trevor Ariza going to the Heat, I think it's a good move. He is getting up there in age, but I feel like he will be able to give some advice for the younger players over there, and he'll still be able to play his role.
See, what I like. Okay, so Ariza really hasn't played a season before he went to the Heat, and he first got he got there. I think he fits the system well, right? He's a defensive guy. He fits what the Heat culture is, the grit. My thing is, so the Thunder seem like they're just trying to get picks for extra picks for every single draft for the next decade. The fact this is a 2027 second round pick is hilarious. All right, and then the last really move, which is again not as thrilling. We got the Pistons acquired. It's basically a trade off of some bench players and a 22nd second round pick.
The Thunder just racking up them draft picks.
That's really what it is.
Up.
That's really
maybe there's some intel that we don't have about the 2027 draft because they just traded for 2 of them.
So, yeah, right. Maybe there's something we don't know about, maybe. But now I want to touch that to go on to the rumors. We brought up Aaron Gordon, Lonzo Ball, and Spencer Dinwiddie. Who can you actually see getting traded next week? I can see Lonzo getting traded to the Knicks. Okay.
I think that'd be best fit for him because how the Knicks are playing right now. And I feel like that Tom Thibodeau system will help Lonzo thrive over there with Julius Randle as well. But the thing is, I don't know who the Knicks would give up. I feel like it'd have to be a lot of draft picks and maybe Austin Rivers, but they really don't have anyone else desirable because RJ Barrett's not going anywhere. Julius Randle's not going anywhere. So it's really a toss-up of what they're going to throw at him. And I feel like if they do trade for Lonzo, it will be a bunch of draft picks, maybe a first and a couple seconds in the future. But that's the most they could do. But I feel like that'd be the best fit for him right now. And I can see it happening.
So to touch on that, I think that market for Lonzo Ball would be perfect. Big market in New York. Doesn't get bigger than that, really. And his dad will probably love it. I just don't know, especially since they brought Rose in from trade earlier in the season. I'm not really sure if it's a little redundant, if that's going to take away from Rose. Maybe I think the Clippers might be better. But before I get into mine, what trade do you want to see? Because we talked about the trades that need to happen. We talked about which team needs to make a trade in the previous podcast. What trade would you actually like to see happen?
I feel like that one.
That one? Okay.
Honestly, I feel like Lonzo would learn from Derrick Rose over there.
Okay.
And I just feel like the big lights, he's been showing out over there in New Orleans, but New Orleans is a small market, so he really hasn't been seeing him much. But you see him over in New York, I feel like they're up and coming right now. They're all young. I feel like that'd be a great fit for him right now, and I'd love to see how him and Julius Randle would match up.
Well, you got Duffy and BT supporting you over there, at least Samuel. So they're liking what they hear. So for me, I would actually I think Spencer Dinwiddie is probably going to be – Lonzo Ball is mostly going to be traded than this player I'm about to mention. But a trade I would like to see happen is Aaron Gordon to the Celtics for that trade exception. They have young players, given that obviously they don't have as much trade value because Brad Stevens is not getting them as much minutes. But you talked about you could probably throw in P.P. Pritchard, who everyone loved at the beginning of the season, has kind of slowed down. You have Romeo Langford, who showed potential in the low minutes he played, but he has been has been restricted because obviously his health. He hasn't really played. I say for this whole season and a little bit of last season. Then you can maybe put Taylor Tyson there, or one of the bigs of Tristan Thompson's, and a pick. I feel like the Celtics, we talked about their problems in previous podcasts, and there's so many things they have to do to fix what's going on with the roster and within themselves. But I think that having a big man like Aaron Gordon in there, who can also be a reliable option to go to outside of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and sometimes Kemba, is having another star there. And also, I don't feel like Aaron Gordon will be upset. I think he'll accept his role as a third or fourth star. He's not the type to be like, I want my time to shine. I want to be the first star. So I think that would be a good fit. It fits the age of the roster. You're not getting someone too old. You're not getting someone too young. I feel like it will be a nice fit, and it will probably give a little bit of change to the team who needs something to change.
I could see that happening, but the only way I see that happening, I don't think the Celtics young stars are going to be enough because they don't play him. Like you said, he really doesn't play him, so the Magic aren't going to see value in them.
That's true.
It's going to have to be someone that you all love.
No, don't do it.
It's going to have to be Kemba.
I thought you were going to say Marcus Smart. I was about to.
I don't think Marcus Smart will get traded. I feel like Kemba will get traded over Marcus. I think Marcus is like the heart and soul of that team. But I feel like it'd have to be someone like Kemba or even like Jeff Teague and a lot of picks.
Well, I'll drive him to the airport.
Because the rookies in the Celtics and young players in the Celtics don't even play in the games. They barely get any time to shine. So why would the Magic give up Aaron Gordon for a bunch of players that they haven't really seen fulfilled yet? Because
Peyton has the PP, everyone calls him, and he shows some flashes. So I think he has more actually value than Teague, who outside the first game has really not shown much at all. So I think also Kemba, you got to ask yourself, will that make sense for a Magic team? If they're trading Gordon, they probably want to rebuild, head in that direction, because they kind of been stagnant. They haven't really. They're a team that they have some young players, some vets, and they kind of overachieve where they're like fighting for the bottom half of the playoff spot, but they never really went deep in the playoffs yet. So do they want Kemba if they're actually going to say, okay, you know what, we're trading Aaron Gordon, we got to readjust this rebuild? I don't think they're close enough, and I don't think Kemba is that player anymore where they could take him over the top.
Yeah,
so
but I don't think
it will be enough.
Any of the Celtics players, like the young players, are good enough to rebuild with. I really don't think so.
That's why you have to include a bunch of picks.
Yeah, it'd have to be like at least four.
And at the same time, I mean, the picks, how good are their picks going to even be? Because you're talking about bottom half of the draft.
Exactly.
Unless, they keep, I mean, right now, they might get lottery. They might get lottery because they're I think the last spot, they're below 500 and their last spot in the playoffs. So we'll see. Now going to that, we're going to go to NFL free agency. Oh, and actually want to talk about something. Everyone knows Sam's a Lakers fan, so he'll know more about this, talk about the subject than me. You got latest news is LeBron James has been diagnosed with a high right ankle sprain and will now be out indefinitely. Anthony Davis is also out. Now, what do you think this means for your Lakers? Are you worried?
So I'm not really worried.
Okay.
As long as we're in that playoff contention still, I'm not worried. It said this injury lasts 4 to 6 weeks normally, and there's 9 weeks left in the season. So right now we're in a pretty good spot. I think they're third or fourth seed, I think. I think they're pretty good right there. I know LeBron. What happened?
I can bring it up. But go ahead. Keep going.
Well, LeBron getting hurt, that's huge because AD was already out and LeBron was that heart and soul of that team. But the way they've been playing, I think some of the players will step up. Kyle Kuzma's been playing exceptionally well for him, what we thought. We really didn't think of anything, and he's been playing pretty good.
The
Kuzma
hope continues. You guys
Kuzma's been playing great.
Okay.
Well, you got Montrezl Harrell's been playing solid. That was a great pickup for them. And third seed.
Mm-hmm. But it's close. It's close.
It doesn't matter as long as we get the 8th seed. Even a play-in seed, it doesn't matter. Because once LeBron and AD come back, it's over. It's over.
So I'm going to finish off what you were saying because I do got something to say to that.
As long as when LeBron's out, as long as the Lakers defense steps up, they don't need to step them in offense. That defense needs to show out because Schroeder's been there in offense, Harrell's been there in offense, Kuzma's been there. But this is the time for them to build for that defensive front. And if they can build that defensive front, when LeBron and AD come back, they're going to be unstoppable in this playoffs. So maybe this needed to happen for them to have to be like, all right, the two main guys are out. We need to start doing something. So this could be a huge learning experience for them, and it's either going to go really, really good or it's going to go really, really bad. But I'm hoping for the good.
So for the defense aspect, you guys better hope that Drummond doesn't get traded. He gets bought out and he wants to go to the Lakers. And also Avery Bradley, one of the best perimeter defenders, who's not having any his rumors is Miami's open to trade him, and playoff teams are interested. One of the playoff teams are interested, and given in the West, I see him more likely to trade him to the West. And I think uniting with Avery Bradley would be a good move for you guys, especially when you talk about defense. Being a top defender still, but this is why I think you guys should be worried. Because look at your rest of your schedule. You got Phoenix. Wait, am I at the schedule or am I still at the standings?
You're on the standings.
Okay, well, I'll talk about the standings first then. So Utah Jazz still in first place. We'll see how long this stays. But you got Phoenix Suns, who look great, 7-3 last 10 games. And we said to Chris Paul, I thought that Chris Paul was going to be the best move NBA free agency last season. Well, this last offseason. And I was right. Phoenix Suns look great. The Clippers look a little bit different than last year. Denver Nuggets are starting to get together, won the last three. You got Portland Blazers, Dame taking over, won the last three. This is who you guys should be worried about. Your guys, plus you're talking about when you come back from injury, it should be, yes, like 4 or 6 weeks. But you're talking about middle of May is when, the regular season ends, and you want time to get continuity back before the playoffs. Like, you don't want to just come back from injury and instantly, have to be ready. You want time to get continuity. You want time because, like, look what happened to Kawhi and the Clippers last season. When
that's different. That's different. He sat out multiple games throughout the season.
But
LeBron didn't sit out at all. It's just injury. Kawhi didn't have injury. He sat out multiple games because he wanted to.
No, but I'm saying the continuity of them not playing together for weeks, and then coming back right before the playoffs to play together. I think that might take a little effect. I think that's something you guys might have to be worried about, especially if you don't got the first seed and you're playing the top teams going into next season. So I'm going to share you guys a schedule because it's not an easy one. So your schedule going ahead for the Lakers. Let me just do my little voice thing again. All right, the schedule for the Lakers. No, that's not it. Lakers schedule, ESPN. Okay. You got the Suns. Talk about next game, 10 o'clock. You have New Orleans Pelicans. You have the 76ers. Tough. Cleveland, you can handle. Orlando, you can handle. Milwaukee Bucks. Tough. Sacramento can handle Clippers. Toronto, Miami, Brooklyn, New York is up. Sneaky team that could beat you. Charlotte, maybe, but given that you don't have your top stars. Because, like, you guys have a tough schedule for this month.
Not necessarily. You're looking at the rest. You've got Wizards down there. You got Magic against Kings, Raptors. The only hard teams are going to be the Clippers, the Nuggets, Suns, and where is it? Portland.
This right here is not tough.
I just said those teams. That's going to be the hardest stretch. Besides that, they can easily make 500. Easily.
Because you got to remember, you're not the team. You're not the dominant team anymore. You're a team bunch of backups. You know what I mean?
No. You don't understand. These guys are stepping up.
So you think your team, given without LeBron and without Anthony Davis, you think your team is better than the Knicks?
Yes.
The Knicks, who are high continuity, are surprising people right now.
They're better than the Knicks.
I gotta disagree with that. Especially when they don't have the continuity as the Knicks. So you got guys stepping up. You guys trying to fight a road.
I think that's that Boston fan, and you're kind of showing out.
You think so? Without Anthony Davis, you guys were already struggling. Now without LeBron James,
we were playing fine without Anthony Davis. LeBron was carrying that load. And now without LeBron, someone else is gonna have to carry that load, and that's good. Someone else needs to step up. Kyle Kuzma needs to step up. Dennis Schroeder needs to step up, and that's gonna happen.
You guys were 6-4 the last 10 games.
And we're still the third seed.
Yeah, that's with LeBron James. Without it, I'm worried about you guys. I think you guys might be slipping towards the bottom there. And
you don't trust them. You got to trust them. I've been watching these guys play all season. They have it in them.
You trust Kuzma?
Yes, I trust Kuzma.
Okay. So, we'll see. We're going to see. I think you guys, it might be a big loss for you guys. It might be a threat to push you guys down the seating. And when you guys come back, you guys have to quickly turn around, quickly get continuity again before the playoffs. It might affect you guys. Now, I'm going to NFL free agency. I have to get my charger. So if you want to just talk real quick on what your quick thoughts about NFL free agency before we get into the best move, biggest overpay, and all this. Do you have any quick thoughts about it?
So I feel like a lot's happened very quick.
Yes.
I feel like a lot has occurred very quick. We've seen Bill Belichick be – I don't even know if Bill Belichick's been, like, kidnapped or something.
It could be Nike.
Someone else took that Patriots spot. But they made some big moves. They're spending loads of money, which is something we really don't see. We really don't see that often. We see the Cowboys, again, not making any moves. They missed out on so many opportunities, per usual. We really expected that. Can't really trust the Cowboy. And, yeah, I feel like everything this free agency has been going crazy within the first 2 days, like blowing up. And there's still so many good players out there.
To me, I'm surprised the wide receiver market didn't get as big of a hit. Like, it was actually a slow market and did not pay well. Given we thought this is the best wide receiver market we've seen in a couple of years, a lot of top wide receiver free agents. Some did get franchise tag like Allen Robinson and Chris Goodwin, but there's actually still a couple good wide receiver free agents on the market. But this was a slow market for them. Also, not surprising to me was I knew the Patriots were going to spend. I think they're going to spend everything the first day, second day. I think Nike has taken over and trying to make up for the NFL draft last season was horrible. But the Patriots are definitely aggressive. I think they admit that the last couple drafts has been bad, hasn't even worked out. Instead of like giving them another chance, they're like, no, we're just going to sign these guys, which is bittersweet because now you admit you just wasted last year's picks, but at the same time, you know you're going to be a better team. And then I'll say also, I'm confused. I'm really confused on what the Texans and the Raiders are doing. So the Texans, you're supposed to be a rebuilding team, and you're getting older. You're signing a lot of vets. And then the Raiders, they had one of the best offensive lines in last season. Dismantled it. It's got rid of it all. They traded Trent Brown, lost some interior. They got rid of the center. And then they brought in one of the best free agents grabs they got was Drake. But they already have Josh Jacobs, and you just got rid of your offensive line. So it's not really clear what they're doing, but we're going to talk to it more. What do you have as the best move so far in NFL free agency?
The best move so far?
Yeah, and I will bring up if you want, or do you want me to wait to remind everybody what's the move's been so far?
Honestly, I have like a couple of the moves like pending in my head.
Okay.
Being a Broncos fan, might be biased, but that Kendall Fuller signing, I feel like that's huge. Because we don't have to draft a cornerback in the draft. Adding Kendall Fuller and we add Ronald Darby, that's huge. Like that's ridiculous. Re-signing Justin Simmons. Mm-hmm. I feel like we've had a pretty good free agency so far. That's our main concerns we touched on. Justin Simmons needed that extension. And now we can use that 9th pick in the draft for something else other than a cornerback since we have these two.
Do you think you're going QB?
So Trey Lance? Much as I want a QB, I don't trust Mac Jones, and he's going to be the only one left there.
Trey Lance, maybe.
No, I don't. The only one I trust really is Justin Fields. Only one I trust. I don't want to risk anyone else. We did that with Drew Lock, and look what happened.
You think you guys could be moving up, or you don't think John Elway is going to move that way? We're not John Elway anymore. But
so I don't think we'll move up. I can see us moving back and taking someone else's quarterback. Like trading for a quarterback and drafting back.
Okay.
Because we have some mock trades where like the Patriots want to trade with us to move up. We have multiple teams wanting to trade up. I want Ryan Fitzpatrick to have a battle with Drew Lock.
No, Ryan Fitzpatrick, actually, I don't know if you heard this, is actually signed with the Washington football team.
I know. I want that trade to happen.
That's not going to happen.
I know, but I'm saying what I want. Okay. I'd love to see that battle. I'd love to see that.
Your young team that doesn't fit, and he's kind of sick of being bridge QB for half a season and then turning it over like he said last season. But I can see you guys going. I can see you guys getting Lance, or I can see you guys maybe getting Trask. Or you talk about trade. The only one that's really up for trade anymore, unless if you get your release, is Marcus Mariota. How do you think about that fit?
I'd like to try it. I wouldn't give up too much for him. I wouldn't give up Drew Lock for him.
Would you pay $10 million?
I'd like to see a battle there. I could see a battle. I feel like Drew Lock just needs a fire. He needs a fire because there's no competition. Our backup quarterback, I don't even know our backup quarterback. Like I really
played a lot last season.
What?
They played a lot last season.
Yeah, Jeff Driscoll, and he's gone now. So it's like I don't know what's going on there. He needs like some competition. Like, all right, I might lose my job because he hasn't really had that. He was hurt. That's why. And as soon as he came back, he was back.
And
he needs that competition over there. Or I'd like Kyle Trask from Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that happening, but that's too early to pick him. He's like a second, third round pick, and I'd hope we'd get him.
I don't think he's gonna hit the third round. I think if he doesn't go to the Steelers late in the first, he'll probably go early in the second. But I think you make a great point that Drew Luck, he has some flashes, but he definitely needs a fire.
Mm-hmm.
But you want your young team, so you want that young QB. I think Marcus Mariota is a good fit. I just don't know if you guys would pay him $10 million.
Yeah.
If you would, it would have been traded by now.
But yeah, I like that Kyle Fuller. I feel like that's the best move because that's the need, and that exceeds the need that we were trying to get.
And last thing I want to ask about you Broncos, Tim Patrick. You think you're bringing him back?
Honestly, I don't mind either way.
Okay.
We have him in a lot of trade rumors. I can see us trading him because he is a solid wide receiver. Yes. I'd like to have him back. He's great. He fits the system. But again, I wouldn't mind if he ended up having to walk. It's not a really big hit.
He's a restricted free agent, so you guys will either get a pick or you guys can. I mean, you guys can't sign and trade him. But wide receivers are going for cheap, so I think it might be worth it to keep him. All right, so my best move for the NFL free agency was actually done by my rival in the AFC, one of the top teams in the AFC. And no, it's not the Patriots because the Patriots are no longer a top team in the AFC. But it is this team I'm trying to find. It is the dramatic effect. I'm just going to say it if I can't find it in a second. It's right there. I should just went down. It's the Kansas City Chiefs with Joe Thuney. Joe Thuney was the Patriots' offensive lineman last season, one of the best offensive linemen in NFL, probably the best offensive lineman available. And what is really great about this pick is because he can play all 5 spots. And the Kansas City, what we saw last Super Bowl is they struggled on the offensive line. They basically said this is the biggest thing we're going to commit to, cut their tackle. Now you signed Thuney, who they haven't had a consistent guards. This is great. And they also brought Kyle Long, who came out of retirement off 1 year. We'll see how he returns to play. But they basically got 2 top guards, possibly top guards. But also Joe Thuney can move around if needed. So I think this is the biggest get in NFL free agency. I know it's not the most pretty, but I think it fills their need the best. And you talk about with the best player.
Mm-hmm. I like that move. They needed guards, and signing them 2 right off the bat was huge. Because Kyle Long is a phenomenal guard coming out of retirement, and Joe Thuney is great. So adding them 2, it'll give depth as well, where they can sub in guards in case one gets hurt. Because last year they really didn't have that depth.
Yes, absolutely. So now I want to talk about the biggest overpay. What do you have as the biggest overpay NFL free agency?
I feel like this is gonna be.
I mean, if you're still on track, I can go with mine if you would like.
Yeah, go with yours because I'm kind of.
You're going back and forth.
Back and forth on this one.
Okay, so I'm going biggest overpay for me is gonna be Bud Dupree. Bud Dupree. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see. Biggest overpay. It's 5 years, $85 million. And this is not. Let me actually go stop sharing the screen because this is important. And it's not to say that Bud Dupree is not a dominant player because he is. But the thing is, like last season, he played 11 games, 8 sacks. Year before that is when he was really dominant, and he got 11.5 in 2019. The thing is about that is 2019 was the only year he had double digits in sacks. And now you're gonna pay him. The first year is not bad. The first year he's only getting, I believe, $5 million in caps. It's only a cap hit for $5 million, given this how a lot of contracts were structured because of how the cap is this season, how it's lower, and people are expecting the new big deal to really expand the cap space. But you're talking about paying $19 million plus for the next 3 seasons for a quarterback who only hit double digits in sacks once. I feel like that's a big risk. I think Bud Dupree is probably the biggest overplay, even though it's a great move. I just think to spend that much, especially when guys weren't going like that, and there was other options. I feel like for defensive line, pass rush, and linebackers. Obviously, he's versatile. You could have got Kyle Van Noy. You could have got Carl Lawson, who is a young potential. So This is my overpay. Who do you have you made up your mind yet?
There's like so many people I'm like going by.
Okay, so give me your 2 or just give me.
So I'm about to go one by the Patriots.
Okay. I think I know you're going with this.
I feel like Jonnu Smith, that payday he got, that $50 million should have went to Hunter Henry instead.
I mean, it did go to Hunter Henry. Got a little bit less of a deal, but okay, go ahead.
I feel like that Jonnu Smith trade, that sign, it was a great signing. Don't get me wrong, and they probably had to give up that much in order to get him to go there. But I feel like if anyone deserved that money, it was Hunter Henry because he is the more established tight end in the league, and he's the better. I think he's the better tight end, in my opinion.
So this is what I'll say about that. So Hunter Henry hasn't really played a full season. He's constantly hurt. That's probably why it affected him. Also, this is very center based. As far as it won't, if he hits everything, if he's the type of player who they think he's going to be, because a lot of this is based off potential. Jonnu Smith is really he never got 1,000 yards, right? He's never been a top tight end, but he has a lot of potential and he's very versatile. They can move around. They can move him around that offense. Henry is a little bit better pass catcher, but Junior is more explosive and he's harder to tackle and is more durable. Yeah, but I feel
both of them were big signings, though. Don't get me wrong about that.
They were, and they were much needed because the Patriots had the worst tight end group in the NFL last season. Actually, I thought you were going to go with Nelson Aguilar.
No, I like that signing. I like that. I like that. Just because he may not be what he used to be, but I feel like with Cam Newton, that's going to rejuvenate him. They'll rejuvenate each other. Because he had Carson Wentz. Come on. And he went to the Raiders, and he had Derek Carr.
Okay, but listen, it's not even the QBs is the problem. Last season, yes, he had a good season. The problem with him is drops. You need a reliable wide receiver. You need a fast wide receiver. Nelson Aguilar is not really the fastest. He's a little fast, but he's not the fastest. And yes, he had Derek Carr. He was good with Derek Carr, but yes, he struggled with Philadelphia. My problem is this, like I said, this wasn't a strong wide receiver free agency sense of contracts. They had a strong wide receiver free agency talking about options. There's a lot of options, a lot of great options. But Nelson Aguilar, you're talking about got the same money that Corey Davis did.
Yeah.
Who was more, I feel like, was a better wide receiver last season. More physical guy. Also has been, I'm not saying as consistent because Corey Davis before last season was also up and down. But also, you're talking about $7 million for the first year, which is still pretty high given the year and given the contracts. And I think it goes up to 15. Let me see. Yeah, 15 next season. And I'm not sure if they're going to pay for that. $15 million for Nelson. He's not number one wide receiver. Nelson Aguilar is not your number one wide receiver.
But I feel like the Pats are in panic mode. We need everyone right now. Last season was like, all right, that wasn't supposed to happen. Now
there was so many options. There was Will Fuller. There was so many options.
Yeah, but you gotta think, who wants to go to the Patriots after last season? I bet Will Fuller didn't want to go. There's plenty of
with the money they had, I feel like, and given that they were one of the only teams that was spending, I feel like that wasn't an issue. I feel like they wanted. The rumor was Bill Belichick loved Nelson coming out the draft. My biggest thing is I don't think he's the number one wide receiver, and next season you're gonna be paying him like number one. We're gonna see. They're probably gonna move the deal around if they extend him or they're gonna release him. I don't see them paying $15 million to Nelson Aguilar because he's at most a 2. Would you agree or disagree with that?
A 2, yeah, I can see it, but he has the potential to be the one. He has that potential. It's just he does.
I think last season was the most we're probably gonna see for him as far as the top. He wasn't even really a top wide receiver then. Last season, that was his best year. So, and then he was really the only option that Carr really trusted as well. So we'll see now that the Patriots got those 2 tight ends. Where does Cam go? All right, now we go from the biggest overpay. I want to talk about the biggest loss. Who was the biggest loss this free agency?
Oh, there was a lot of them. There was a lot.
You want me to go?
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay. So this bigger loss, I think, for NFL free agency, I think I mentioned earlier, was the Raiders' offensive line. I think the Raiders dismantling their offensive line. They first traded Trent Brown. They got rid of their center. They had a top offensive line in the league. You got Josh Jacobs back there. Josh Jacobs was your best offensive player. Derek Carr finally showed improvement. And the fact that you just dismantle your offensive line, your offense is going to take a step back.
I think the biggest loss was Kenny Golladay. The Lions fumbled the bag on that one. They really did.
Okay, they don't have a top wide receiver. That's a good choice because they only have a top wide receiver option. But continue with that.
Yeah, but you got to think they're bringing in Jared Goff. you want to give him as many weapons as possible because he needs it. He really does need it. And you just get rid of Kenny Golladay, I feel like that was stupid on their part. And because the Giants, honestly, with him on their offense, I can see that being scary.
Okay. I'm going to the Lions. I heard they did get a wide receiver, but no one special. So they got Tyrell Williams and Bresser Perriman from the Jets, who were just wide receiver, but no one really stands out. So they are missing that top wide receiver. Not a bad pick. I think what's going to end up being the biggest loss is Chicago Bears Allen Robinson, because I don't see him playing under the franchise tag. I don't see him being happy about Andy Dalton being the starting QB there. So I think he is going to ask for a trade, and I feel like that will end up being the biggest loss because he was the key for that offense. Losing him on the offense and then getting Andy Dalton as a starter. Again, they're going to have one. They got rid of the cornerback, so the defense is not going to be a dominant, and your offense got weaker. And then you have the Packers in your division. So it's going to be interesting. I think the Saints, you can also make the argument they had a great cap space, they lost some key defensive players, they're a well-rounded team. Drew Brees, you could also make the argument, is also the biggest loss because of the gap between Hill and Jason Witten to Drew Brees. All right, now next, we're going to be talking about the biggest sleeper. Who is your biggest sleeper?
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Okay.
That was a great signing by the Washington football team. They needed it. And we don't know how the other guy's going to be, if it was a one-show performance or not. I think it's going to be a great battle between them two. And Ryan's only a one-year deal, so it's not like he locked in too long. But I love that signing. I feel like we saw last season and the season before that, Fitzmagic's real. It's not a hoax. It's real. So he can do it over there with those weapons.
Can it be real for a whole season is the question. And it's not a bad deal. 1 year, $10 million, max of 12. I think it's perfect for them because they're in a division that is not as the strongest. Even though they did get some guys, we'll mention in a little bit about the NFC East and the difference and the impact it had this free agency. But it's still a weaker division. And you went to the playoffs last season. You had a young defense, a good defense. And you got some pieces offensively, and you added some more. So you definitely could be a playoff team. So I think adding a veteran QB for that young team that could still be a playoff team to further your standing in that weaker division, I feel like it was a great move, especially Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was probably arguably one of the best QBs on the market. Because obviously Dak Prescott, everyone knew he was going back to the Cowboys. So there's not really much out there. Especially Cam Newton came back to the Patriots. Obviously he didn't have the best last season. So now you're talking about Ryan Fitzpatrick and a lot of backups. Okay, right? Andy Dalton, I consider him a backup. So my biggest sleeper actually comes from the AFC East rival. I think Corey Davis and Carl Lawson moves from the Jets is my biggest sleeper. Because now you talk about, it fits the young. Carl Lawson he wouldn't have the most sacks, but he had one of the most, I think he was second in pressure. He's a young defensive pass rusher. Only 3 years, $45 million. Not too bad of a deal. And then Corey Davis, 3 years, $37 million. Not bad of a deal at all. He's a bigger guy. He's going to fight. He brings a great, grit to that Jets team, who I think is trying to bring back identity to the team. I think there's two great young signings for the Jets. That's my biggest sleeper. And they didn't spend too much for it. And they have the cap space too. So they need to do something. So who is your most improved?
Most improved?
I'm waiting for this one.
Honestly,
you can say it. You can say. I'll say it with you.
I don't think we're agreeing here.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to go with the Giants. I feel like
explain that. I'll bring this up. I'll bring up the thing, but you got to explain that to me.
So Devontae Booker, the running back they signed, he played with the Broncos. He was a great running back. He's a good backup for when Saquon's not doing that, and that's pretty often. That Kenny Golladay signing and John Ross and Kyle Rudolph, that was pretty good signings to help out Daniel Jones because you really didn't have anyone over there. I think that Kenny Golladay, he's going to be number one guy. John Ross is a phenomenal wide receiver we've seen as a backup in 2 or 3. Kyle Rudolph is a great tight end. That's going to be great. Leonard Williams, the franchise tag, that was big signing. Big franchise tag. They needed that. I feel like they're going to improve the most. They improved the most with these picks. I think it's great. They targeted what they needed. They needed help for Daniel Jones, and they got 3 good guys to help him out. So I think it was pretty solid.
I feel like you're just doing this to get to me.
No, we're talking about most improved.
I think this is bait. I think this is bait because you're using the word great too loosely because John Ross, he was on a team last season with the Bengals who actually was looking for another wide receiver to step up, and we saw that we've seen before that he was solid, he has speed, but pressure was mark. It can help. Like, what can he be for a wide receiver? Kenny Golladay was great. Kenny Golladay was like probably only the great signing here. I mean, Mike Glennon, that's not gonna make a difference. Denver Booker's fine, yes, but you got Barkley coming back, so how much of a difference is that gonna really make?
A backup, you need more than one. We saw it last season; they had only Saquon, really.
Yeah, but he's not. I don't feel like a big. He's not. That's a big gap there still. He's not a top running back. Then you got Kyle Rudolph coming in, who's great, but he's a veteran. So how much does he fit your timeline? Got a 2-year deal. He's reliable, but he's not a break your bank tight end. He kind of is where he is at this point. You needed some defensive line pieces, and I mean, you kept Williams for a big deal. He was one of the best defensive tackles this last season. My worry about Le'Veon Williams is once he gets paid, which Le'Veon Williams are we going to see? Are we going to see the Jets Le'Veon Williams, or are we going to see the one we saw last season with the Giants? So we're going to see. I mean, given that they just agreed to a 3-year deal, $60 million. We can I feel like we can get either one. If it works out last season, this is a great signing. If we get the old Jets Le'Veon Williams, could be actually with Dupree has been the biggest overpay. So, with any rebuttal to that before I go to mine?
No, I just feel like this is good. They're going to help out the most. They're going to improve the most with those.
Okay, so do you think they're a playoff team after this?
They're not a playoff team yet because of that division, but they're improved. We're talking about improvement. Their record's going to be exceptionally better than what it was before.
How big of a jump, though, if we're talking about improvement?
At least 3 to 4 games.
That's not the biggest improvement to me.
Yes,
because I'm gonna talk about a team that actually made enough difference where they're a playoff team now. And you know where I'm going with this. You know exactly where I'm going with this. I'm going with the team that has been taken over by a dog.
Yeah, but real quick.
They are a playoff team now.
Before you even say that, they weren't that far off the playoffs, so it's not much improvement.
They were given that the AFC, they were not close to. They got out, I think, week 14. They got knocked out.
Yeah, but they were still a 7-win team.
Yeah, 7-9, but they weren't even close to. Well, not close. They were close to the wild card until the end.
Yeah, but how many wins is it gonna take to get into the playoffs? Maybe 3 or 4. Like, you know what I mean? That's not really crazy improvement.
Look at the most improved. You know how bad the offense was last season? Like, I know how bad. I can tell you how bad it is. Do you know how bad it was? We had the worst wide receiver and tight end group. I'm having nightmares right now. I'm having flashbacks. I'm having PTSD right now just saying it, okay? Like, we had the worst tight end group. They did nothing, no production. You add 2 young tight ends that had great potential, who has Henry when he is healthy. He has good production. Julius Smith was capable with that. And they're also not just catchers. They're also great pass blockers. Especially talking about Smith, who played with the Titans, who was really run heavy. Smith did a lot of that blocking. Then you got, even though, like I said, it's not the top market, you still got 2. You could get better wide receiver. Because you brought in Nelson Aguilar, who's better than what you had, and then you brought in a solid guy. I can't always remember his name. Played for San Francisco, Kedrick Bourne, which people are gonna make jokes, I guess, with Jason Bourne. And then you beefed up your offensive line. I think the Patriots are going to go back to what Belichick was always wanted with that punch you in your face, grinding out team. That's going to be the identity. Defensively, they're going to be big guys in the front. They brought back Van Noy. You got the guy from Baltimore Ravens with Juden. It's a bigger guy. They got some defensive tackle with Devon, some Adams with Anderson. I think they're going to go back to punch you, smash mouth football, where they're going to be heavy on the top, and they're also going to be for offensively. They're going to have guys like Trent Brown, bigger guys that blocks, run heavy, target towards the middle, hard to tackle. Kind of like what the Titans are now, a little bit offensively. They got more solid on the offensive line. They brought back Andrews, which was huge, on a cheap deal, a very cheap deal, 4 years, almost $20 million. They brought Ted Karras, good solid depth, bring him back. Also bringing back Cal Van Noy, which was huge because he actually had a really great season with the Dolphins last season. And he came back for a 2-year, $13 million deal. You're talking about now, I don't know if you remember the boogeyman of 2 seasons with the Patriots, that defense. That defense, what they did was with the linebackers and the front, they would mix things up, and they had a great pass rush because they were able to do that. Guys were versatile. They lost all their linebackers last season, so they weren't able to do that. Bringing back Van Noy, Hightower coming back. You got Jude in there. You got the young guy you brought in last year, Uche. You can do that again. This front now, given the Patriots secondary might get worse, given what happens with JC or Gilmore, I don't think they're going to keep both. That would be key because now you're going to be able to get to the quarterback easily again. And they actually really took a downfall last season. So offensively, this changes Patriots to actually a productive team offensively. Defensively, they got better as well. So to me, this is the most proved team because not only the whole team is better, but also now they are a playoff team. They are a playoff caliber team. They actually have stars and talent on this roster, which last season you couldn't say that. Yeah,
but are they still going to compete with the Chiefs or the Ravens?
The Ravens, yeah.
Or the Bills?
The Bills, yeah.
They're not going to win that division.
Okay, we're going to see what happens who they go for quarterback because I think that's what would be the biggest thing here that the bet on is quarterback play. Can Cam Newton, now that he has weapons, now that he also has the offensive line, can he still produce and be not the MVP quarterback that he once was because I think that's over, but can he still be a very effective, very impactful quarterback?
Yeah, because that division is tough now. The Dolphins are looking good. The Jets had some great signings, and the Bills are going to win that division. So,
I mean, that's still tough. It wasn't clear. That wasn't a clear cut. I think the first game with the Bills, it was a close game, and that was with not such a great Patriots roster. Like I said, you just got better defensively and got a lot better offensively. I think also with this pick, we talked about this before the show, is now that they have 10 picks in this draft. They don't have that many roster spots left. I don't see the Patriots using all 10 picks. I see them moving up. And the fact they still need a QB for the future, I think that might be the move. And a lot of New England reporters kind of hint at that and are predicting that as well. And I'm thinking Justin Fields or Trey Lance. If they get Justin Fields, if they trade up enough, I'm not sure. Let's see if they have enough. If they trade up and get Justin Fields.
They need to get the second pick. There's no way.
They're not going to get second. No, you don't. Because
Justin Fields is going to go second.
No, Zach Wilson.
No.
A lot of people are saying Zach Wilson if the Jets stay there. That's going to be a move. Even then, if they get Zach Wilson, I think Zach Wilson's on number 2 for sure. That still is a big bet to Buffalo. Buffalo, to me, given that the defense was not as great last season as it was before, the offense took a jump. Yes, they got Emmanuel Sanders, which is another sleeper grab. But you also lost John Brown, so that kind of evens out. Buffalo didn't get that much better.
They added Emmanuel Sanders. That's better than John Brown.
They also subtracted John Brown, which is not that big of a difference.
That's better than John Brown.
It's not that big of a difference, especially how Gibson is. It's an upgrade, but how much of not that big of a difference, especially if you're subtracting John Brown. Because if you have all 3 of them, that's more dangerous than those 2.
No,
John Brown is underrated wide receiver. He was very fast. I feel like he's kind of a reliable guy. He's not a top 1 guy, but he's reliable. All right, so now we're talking about most proved. Who had the best week? We can actually go over this. Who had the best week in free agency? You have the Bills. We see the Bills move Trubisky, Emmanuel Sanders.
It'd probably be the Pats.
Miami Dolphins.
Best week, probably the Pats. They signed the most players that would impact the team the most.
Okay.
I don't really see any other team that had a better week besides maybe the Chiefs because they're guards, but.
So this is actually okay. So I think it's the Patriots too, but I think contending. I have 2 teams contending. I have Tampa Bay Buccaneers contending for that spot too, because the Buccaneers did what they said they were. Not a lot of people do that. Like I think NFL football was Good Morning Football said it's like all the drunken promises. Like they all like at the celebration. We're going to bring everyone back this year. And everyone's drunk. They're like, yeah, sure, right, because that never happens. Usually people win the Super Bowl and everyone goes crazy. They're spending, and usually most of you guys leave because everybody wants them because you just won a Super Bowl with them. And there was a lot of guys, a lot of key pieces. You got Chris Goodwin, you got Shaq Barrett, you got Levante David. You had a lot of key pieces that you could lose this season. And they did bring them back all aside. We'll see what happens with Antonio Brown. We're also going to see what happens with Sue. But they brought back the key pieces. And they kept them for Shaq Barrett. They kept them for a longer 4 years. We'll see what happens with Chris Goodwin if they keep him longer. But the fact they were able to keep this team, they're contending again. And you got to maximize that window while you have Tom Brady.
Now I think it's got to see where you got Leonard Fournette goes and Antonio Brown because they can't re-sign both of them unless they do like minor deals.
Yeah, but those weren't like key. Really, Fournette was great, but they also had like a 3-headed monster number. They had McCoy and they had Jones, was pretty good this season too. So they kept the key pieces. That what I was worried about was they had the best linebacker group I feel like in the NFL with David Barrett and Devin Smith. Now that's the fact they were able to keep that huge. That was huge. Now I'm also going to bring up Washington football team because, like I said, I think they solidified a spot as the best team in NFC East. Curtis Samuel was a great move. Pairing him with Terry McLaurin. Now you got two dynamic, fast wide receivers. It's going to be hard for cover, especially with the Eagles has a shaky secondary. You got the Giants who has inconsistency with the secondary, and the Cowboys who have no secondary. So this is scary if you're an NFC East opponent. And then you bring in Lamar Miller, solid signing, still a solid running back. William Jackson can be a top cornerback. I mean, he's shown flashes earlier in his career. Last couple years, he hasn't as great, but I think he just needed new scenery. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, which we already talked about, you're bringing in a vet to compete right now. So I think I have those three teams definitely. I had the best week. Now the worst week, I've capped this one off. The worst week to me, it could be easy, right? It could be easy going with the Chicago Bears. It could be easy going with New Orleans. But a team that I think actually had the worst week because they had the cap space to do stuff and they didn't is the Indianapolis Colts. And I'm gonna show you. They just traded for Carson Wentz, makes people think that, they're gonna start making big moves, given that they got QB for the future, and he needs support, right? Because Philadelphia, his biggest argument for him was he didn't have the support. You lost T.Y. Hilton, you losing T.Y. Hilton. Looks like you bring back Mac, and you sign Rhodes for a 1-year deal. They needed a wide receiver. They needed a top wide receiver. You missed out on Galladay. We'll see what happens with Robinson if he gets traded or not. You missed out on Will Fuller. You missed out on top guys, and you have the cap space. What are you doing? Why are you holding on to your money? The market is drying up fast. So that's one of my biggest. That's my biggest loser. Also, Chicago. If you know a Chicago's Bears fan, please give them a hug. Make sure they're okay. Call them. Check up on them. Chicago Bears fans, if you're here, I'm sorry for you. It will get better one day. You will find that quarterback one day. It could be worse. You could be the Jets. But Chicago Bears fans, I feel for them because imagine what it's like if your team's like, we're gonna go on Wilson. We're going all in on Wilson, and then you name Andy Dalton your starter. You don't even try to trade up, or you try to draft a quarterback for the future. You name Andy Dalton your starter, who I'll make a debate is worse than Mitch Trubisky. Like Andy Dalton, and then what that's going to do is now you pissed off your top wide receiver off, who you just franchise tag. He's not going to want to stay there after that. He's not going to want to stay there for Allen Robinson. In fact, he's already pissed off about getting a franchise tag. Now you already lost your top offense. You lost Fuller for a quarterback. So now you just got, like I said, you got worse all around. Who do you have?
So, honestly, I got to go with Texans.
Okay.
They made a lot of stupid moves that make no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, we talked about that.
They signed so many people that are not going to make any difference whatsoever. None of these guys are going to make any difference. The Philip Lindsay signing, I feel like, was good. Broncos releasing him. I feel like he's a good running back for them. Mark Ingram, he's up there in age. He's just going to be like the veteran guy over there. Tyrod Taylor is a good signing for how cheap you got him because Deshaun's not going to play. Ryan Finley, that's just a backup. That's nothing serious to even talk about. That's about it. Then you got Shaq Lawson in the trade, but they really signed a bunch of no names. And
they signed a lot of former Patriots. That's what it was. Yeah. They signed a lot of former Patriots because Nick Casso, who was the former Patriots GM.
And they're not going to make any difference on that team. None of these guys are going to make a difference. None of them.
So I'll agree with that as far as they got solid players. But players that don't make sense when you put them together on a team that's not close to contending.
Especially because we don't know what's going on in that team.
You got Tyrod Taylor, exactly, with Watkins' situation. So you got Tyrod Taylor, who I feel like could still be a good quarterback. Who still could be a good starting quarterback if given an opportunity. I feel like I liked him when he was with Buffalo. I feel like he obviously didn't get the fair share with the Chargers because of the doctors and Justin Herbert stepped in and he looked great. It was hard for them to bench him. But then you got two great running backs, but Mark Ingram's on the older side. You got Lindsay, but then you got David Johnson too. It's what are you really doing there? You don't really have the offensive line. You traded for Marcus Cannon, who's coming off of he was bought out last season. He was already kind of downsliding. People thought he was going to retire.
And then you see those wide receivers that they traded for. Like they signed like the wide receivers.
Andre Roberts. Yeah, there's none of these guys are top wide receivers.
No, Dante Moncrief's.
You got
He's
some
past
speed.
the time.
Yeah, he got some speed, but he's not gonna stick out. Your QB there is gonna be struggling. I know you got Brandon Cook still, but still, you need that reliable number one guy.
Brandon Cooks needs out.
It'll be interesting to see if he gets traded again. I feel for him because he's been on 3 teams, 3-4 teams.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
5 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a lot of former Patriots. You like Derek Rivers, you got Desmond King, Terrence Brooks. You can see this is kind of like another situation where you see when Patriots guys leave, go to new teams, like Matt Patricia, like Brian Flores, he's not a former coach, but he was a player, Mike Vrabel, Titans. They bring a lot of Patriots guys. And it doesn't always work out because it's not always the same system. You can't always have the same system because it doesn't work everywhere. So I agree with the worst week. Now I want to know what's ahead because there are actually still some great, well, I'll say great, but there's some really good wide receivers out there. I'll bring up a list. We talked about Clowney earlier. You still have T.Y. Hilton. So what do you think is going to be happen next? What moves are you looking forward to?
So I feel like T.Y. might resign. They're going to try to resign him over there just because Carson Wentz needs help and they really have made no moves whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
Melvin Ingram, do you think
I was looking at that. I don't know where. I feel like he's going to want to get paid, but
I feel like
team's going to really pay him that money.
He's 31. I think he should go to a contender and find someone who has money, which is hard right now.
And then Villanueva, he'll probably resign with the Steelers.
I would like to see Ingram go to Baltimore. You got Clowney.
I don't know. I feel like he's not the same guy he was before, so he's not going to get that big deal he's looking for. He's going to have to settle with like the Titans again or something like that, but nowhere big's going to sign him like that.
So the rumors were early this week, and I think I liked it. It was T.Y. Hilton to the Packers. I could see that happening. They definitely need a wide receiver there. They missed out on Fuller.
I'd like that.
They need to create more cap space, though, but they have been just in making room. Sammy Watkins. That's the one you brought up as an underrated guy last season. Where do you see him going? Do you still
the Ravens still? I see him with the Ravens because they didn't get Juju. So they need someone. He's the best one there right now.
And the last person I want to talk about, Richard Sherman. Do you think Richard Sherman's still a top quarterback?
No. He's a solid cornerback. He's not top 5, top 10. He's top 15 maybe. He's still an impactful player because he gets the way he gets in people's heads, but he's not anything crazy to get like those big deals. Maybe like a 1-2 year deal, like $5 million a season. But I don't see him like going anywhere crazy.
All right, I'm gonna look at the cap space real quick because a place I actually want him to go. I want him going to a contender. And the teams that have the most cap space that's left, you have the Jaguars, you have the Colts, you got the Panthers, you got the Jets, you got the Broncos, you got the Chargers, the Bengals, and Washington. It's a lot going on there until you get a contender. But I think Washington will be a great fit, especially since they got very young defense.
Yeah, and they have the money for it.
And they just signed William Jackson, but Richard Sherman, a vet there to pair him up with, I think will be great because their front seven was great. The secondary was a little bit more shaky. Sure up this secondary with not just William Jackson, but Richard Sherman, I think will be huge for them.
No, that'd be big.
All right, we want to thank you guys for tuning in for our show. Next show is going to be a very special. It's going to be a 1-year anniversary of Locked In. We got something special for it. Make sure you guys tune in. And until then, stay safe and enjoy NFL free agency. Hopefully you're not a Bears fan. Until then, you always have next year. All right, so until then, we'll see you guys next week.